Hello, you're listening to On Israel in Al Monitor. I'm Ben Caspit from Tel Aviv. Israel has been mentioned many times as a dominant power in cyber surveillance and spying. The Israeli NSO Group has also been mentioned in connection with the dubious surveillance projects, sometimes even bordering on the criminal or violent by foreign governments or dictators. But these shadowy activities came under a harsh spotlight last week with the publication of the Pegasus project, an expose by a group of leading media outlets in partnership with the Forbidden Stories Group and Amnesty International. The investigative journalism project revealed that the foreign governments planted NSO's Pegasus spyware in the cell phones of politicians, leaders, social activists, dissidents, and journalists. In some cases, the spyware was used not just for surveillance and eavesdropping, but also for harassment, kidnappings, and even murder, as was the case with the killing of Saudi dissident journalist Jamal Khashoggi. It should be noted that the NSO is forcefully denied any link to the list of 50,000 phone numbers allegedly targeted by Pegasus for surveillance. The company issues a detailed periodic transparency report and declares at every opportunity that it does not have any connection to events such as the Khashoggi murder or the kidnapping of Arab princesses who tried to escape their families. Nonetheless, the scandal generated by the expose will not go away. The fingers are pointing at Israel's defense industry and export licensing authorities as the real villains in this affair, who have turned Israel's cyber capacity into an aggressive and sometimes corrupting tool in the hands of foreign governments and rulers. Many believe that the real blame lies with the regulatory authorities in Israel's defense ministry, while others think that Israel trades in the spyware and other cyber warfare tools in return for agreement by Arab and other countries to establish relations with Israel. Various reports claim NSO's goodies were mentioned in dealing with the Arab or Muslim leaders as a fringe benefit of forging ties with Israel. While both NSO and Israel deny these allegations, many discussions have been held behind closed doors, some led by Defense Minister Benny Gantz, in an effort to identify rogue elements in Israel's complex, cumbersome export oversight of conventional and cyber weapons arms. In the past, the oversight focused on artillery, rockets, and bombs. Today, the focus is on cyber arms. Al Monitor's On Israel podcast will host two guests today for the first time. They are Reserve Brigadier General Ariella Ben Avraham, a former officer in the Israeli Navy, and the IDF spokesperson's office and chief military censor. These days, she runs NSO's public affairs operations. Joining her will be the company's legal counsel, Shmuel Sunray, the US-born former legal advisor of Rafael, Israel's leading developer of advanced defense systems. The two will present NSO's version of the latest events and answer the tough questions arising from the expose. We will speak with them about cyberspace in general, about Israel's unique place in this growing industry, about future cyber wars, and perhaps about the cyber war that has already been broken out between Israel and Iran. We will be back with the Director of Public Affairs and the legal advisor of the NSO Group right after this short break.
If you're listening to this podcast, you obviously care about the Middle East, and if you do, you should probably be reading Al Monitor. Al Monitor is a global newsroom headquartered in Washington, D.C., with a network of over 160 contributors around the world. Al Monitor offers first-class reporting and analysis from a range of perspectives and an approach that represents the highest journalistic standards, as well as an award-winning commitment to press freedom and independence. If you haven't done so already, visit us at almonitor.com, check out our articles, and sign up for our free newsletters. There's a lot to choose from, including the Week in Review, an essay that offers unusual insights and forecasts into the region based upon Al Monitor's outstanding reporting. And if you haven't done so, please subscribe to our Al Monitor podcast on your favorite podcast platform, on Israel with Ben Caspit, and on the Middle East with me, Andrew Parasolidi.
Now I'm very happy to say hello to two guests. It's the first time On Israel podcast is hosting two guests. And we are talking now with Brigadier General Ariella Ben Avraham. How are you doing, Ariella? And thank you for being with us here in On Israel.
Hello, Ben. How are you? Brigadier General Reserved.
Reserved, of course.
Yeah.
And we are also talking today to Mr. Shmuel Sunray, the US-born former legal advisor of Rafael and now a legal advisor of the NSO Group. Hi, Shmuel. How are you doing? And thank you for joining us.
Pleasure being on this discussion with you.
So let's dive into business, and I'll ask you one of the headlines that I saw during this late affair with the Pegasus project publications is that Pegasus or NSO is the Israeli ear of the Arab leaders in the Middle East. And I wanted to ask you, do you see this as a libel or as a compliment?
Oh, Ben, so many headlines we've heard about us, really. So, of course, I can't refer to our customers at all, but I must tell you, we are very proud in the fact that it is because of NSO, people around the world are safer. We provide law enforcement and intelligence agency the ability to overcome end-to-end encryption. And actually, our products enable governments to save lives, and we see it every day. Now, we are not the ears of anyone because we are not, do not have the data, we do not operate the system, and the data, we can't see it. So, you know, it's one of a lot of headlines which are actually pretty funny.
Do you want to add something on this, Shmuel Sunray? Because many civilians, and I believe it, and I know it, are a lot safer. But in this affair, there are many journalists or leaders that suddenly are targeted by Pegasus or not. And the question is whether you can regulate it.
Well, that's an excellent question. I think your disclaimer of maybe Pegasus, maybe not targeted, maybe not targeted, I think that's the key takeaway from this sentence. You know, and again, we without relating to this whole, you know, these names which are, you know, again, we don't believe have any direct relations, but on a general side, you're going to your general question as far as regulated. Definitely, you know, we really believe that this is a industry that needs to be regulated. We believe that this is an industry that needs to have some international recognition of what needs to be done on the human rights affair. And I think maybe the best quote I can give is what the United Nations Human Rights High Commissioner came out with this week after these publications. And you know, and she said, you know, Michelle Bachelet, that I would like to remind all states that surveillance measures can only be justified in narrowly defined circumstances with a legitimate goal, and they must be both necessary and proportionate to that goal. And I think that this is exactly what we're calling for, and we're very much advocating international regulation dealing with these issues, the issues of who to sell to, how to vet customers, how to go and ensure that it's used in the proper way, and how to deal with misuse if they do come up. And I think that is something that we have put very much into our compliance programs, and transparency report, I think, details that in pretty much detail about the processes we have. And we really believe that to go and level the playing field, that all other players in this industry should have regulations similar to ours. And the best way to do that, of course, if there's some international body that's willing to take upon itself to go and deal with these issues, to find the right balance between national security and rights to privacy, and find the right proportionate way to do so. And we'd be more than happy to be part of this discussion and to, of course, adhere to any type of regulations that will come out. Until then, we'll continue working with our strict regulations, even though this is now self-regulated and not officially regulated. And we hope that will change in the near future.
You know, Ben, I must tell you, Ben, I must tell you that
Yes.
Shmuel is so modest, you know, because I can tell you that since I think it was beginning of 2020, April 2020, Shmuel joined the company and initiated a new compliance and human rights policy and governance that we are the first cyber intelligence company in the world actually adopting the UN guiding principles and actually adopting such a compliance governance. I don't think any other cyber intelligence company in the world has such a regulation. And I know how much Shmuel is trying to, you know, to work on this regulation and to initiate it as something to the
Are you
world.
talking about the transparency report? I heard somewhere that
The transparency
38
report.
pages or something.
Now, the transparency report is really a summary of the processes that we have put into place. And the processes, as I said, I mean, we took all the pillars of a compliance program, you know, beginning with tone on the top and training and et cetera, anything that all compliance experts in any field, if it's ABC or export control compliance, and we adopted this to human rights compliance, which is unique in many ways because usually, you know, when you deal with compliance, let's say it's usually like on the supply side of things in human rights, right? For example, everyone would understand that when we have child labor, you know, going and sewing sneakers in you know, in a third world country, you know, that's something that the supply chain companies are very aware of. I think that the fact that we are taking these principles, adopting them to governmental customers, and it's not trivial. You know, you think about the fact that you are basically taking a government intelligence agency, not just a government, a specific intelligence agency with all the shroud of secrecy that they operate in, and we come to them and say, okay, you know, first of all, you know, in order for you to become a customer of NSO, you need to go and satisfy us A, B, and C. You need to go and sign D, E, and F. And if you do something that we believe is wrong under our own discretion, you know, not a judicial type of decision, but on our own discretionary accord, we can basically terminate your contract, suspend your contract, and it's not trivial. I mean, you know, countries would come and sometimes, you know, raise their outcries and say, you know, what, you think that you're better than our, you know, legal regime? I say, no, we're not any better, we're not any worse. These are our standards. And for you to become a customer, you must stick to these standards.
But
So
after having said all that, Ariella and Shmuel, NSO finds itself time after time under scrutiny and investigations and scandals. And so I want to, with your permission, to dive into the details of this last Pegasus project. And the Expose reported that 50,000 phone numbers were targeted by Pegasus, the spyware developed by NSO. You, on the other hand, have denied any link to this list. Where do you think this list came from? And is Pegasus not linked to any of the numbers? Let's remember that this project was conducted by reputable international outlets, dozens of journalists and organizations. Whom should we believe?
So us, of course. You know, even the Washington Post itself and all the other members of the Forbidden Stories Consortium and Amnesty, they all admit that the purpose of this list could not be determined and that the list does not identify who put the numbers on it or why. And it is unknown how many of the phones were targeted or surveilled. So what do you want? They built a whole campaign, a well-orchestrated campaign led by Forbidden Stories, but pushed by special interest groups with a complete disregard of the facts. You know, the list is not an NSO list, and it never was. And everything else is just fabricated information. This is not a list of targets nor potential targets of Pegasus. Absolutely not.
I saw also that Amnesty International said somewhere in its reaction or something that the list is not connected directly to Pegasus, but on many other places I saw that many of the phone numbers that were mentioned in this list on the phones itself, they found remains of or signs that Pegasus was there or something. So what can be our conclusion on this?
Can I ask you a question? Did you see the list of 50,000 numbers?
No.
Did someone see this list? Because we did not see it. We did not see it. And I can read you what Amnesty said, that the truth is that Amnesty has never presented this list as NSO Pegasus spyware list. So come on. No one saw this list. I don't know where it came from. It doesn't relate to NSO at all. It's a list of numbers. It could have been numbers for I don't know what. It doesn't relate to NSO. So a whole campaign based on false, based on misleading, I don't understand it.
So let's say
maybe you should ask them, where's the list? Can I see the list? Where did it come from?
But they did publish or said or discovered or revealed a few very interesting names. In the last time, I think NSO denied any connection to the killing of the Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi, and now they're talking about Princess Latifa, the daughter of Dubai's ruler, and Princess Haya, King Abdullah's half-sister, that both were reportedly also under surveillance by Pegasus. One tried to escape her country and was caught. The other left her family behind and escaped to London. Is NSO linked in any way to these events?
So, you know, you've put a lot of events, so I don't want to refer to specific events. We have denied any connection to the heinous murder of Khashoggi. I don't want to get into any name because it would be wrong. It's all based on a false list. Now, I don't want to refer to every name because there are a lot of names and we didn't get the 50,000 because there is no 50,000 or there is some kind of list, but doesn't relate to NSO. I can tell you one thing. I can tell you that if and when we'll receive a credible evidence that our system was misused by one of our customers, we will investigate it and take all the measures possible to make sure it doesn't happen again. And I must refer to Shmuel talked about the transparency report. We have published there that we have ended terminated 5 systems of our customers because of misuse. So we believe this is the right thing to do, not allowing any misuse and letting this system be used for the sole purpose of saving lives and preventing terror and preventing pedophiles. Then every day, due to our product, our Pegasus, lives are being saved. And when, as I said, when we get credible allegations, we investigate them and we do what's necessary to do, even shutting down the systems.
And let me add to that. Ben.
Of course.
Yeah, we have zero tolerance for misuse. You know, we totally, you know, we understand the potential of misuse of our systems. We call it the Peter Parker rule, right? You know, with great power comes great responsibility, and we understand the potential of our tools as far as infringement of human rights. We also understand the benefits that our tools are giving to the safety and security. And as such, when we do have such investigations, which we take very seriously and which are very difficult as far as implementing and getting to the root of the matters, and if there is no cooperation of the customer, that itself is reason to go and shut down the system. We get the cooperation. If we're not convinced and we see that something happens that shouldn't have happened, we take it very seriously. And this is something that I think I've been very proud of.
I want to follow up on this because it's interesting. Do you have tools, technical tools, to know that one of your clients, and as I understand, you sell your products only to states, not to private clients, but can you follow? Can you know if the Saudi government or the Bahraini government or any other government now is using Pegasus not against terror, not against pedophiles, not against organized crime, but against a journalist or a foreign leader, for example?
Well, Ben, that's an excellent question, because this is exactly the catch that we're in. We don't operate the systems. We're not privy to the data. We don't sit in the operations room of the customer. We're not an intelligence agency. We're a software provider, right? So we do not have visibility, and we don't have the technical ways to go and basically understand if someone is being targeted because he doesn't have the justification. And because of that challenge, that's why we're so anal, if we can call it, about the vetting the customer on the front end of thing and dealing harshly with the customer on the back end of things if there is allegations and if there is if we are convinced that there is misuse. And again, I know that this is something that sometimes our critics come and say, how can you go if you're not following the systems? How can you go and say that you're basically dealing with this seriously? And that question is true for any compliance. So when banks do compliance on money laundering on their customers, right? They don't sit on the with the customer. And
it's more than this, Shmuel. You worked with Rafael. If Rafael sells a missile system to someone, they will never know who is this guy going to fire to launch the missiles on. So, and maybe there is a lot of hypocrisy now in the world dealing with the cyber technology or the cyber tools, because you don't all the morality and the high standards. I think now we are solely in this, and not, any moment people are getting killed by dozens or thousands by weapons, and no one cares about these weapons, but everybody now is following the cyber tools.
Well, Ben, that's an excellent point, and I really don't want to go and deal with other industries. I think that there's a lot of things that other industries, not only defense industry, any government provider industry, it could be a telecommunications, it could be even a carpenter who might be providing some type of apparatus that might be used for waterboarding. But again, I'm dealing about what we're trying to do is deal with our sector, to deal with our company. We do what we believe is the right thing to do. We do what we think our industry should be doing. And I agree with you. I mean, this is something that should be thought on a maybe broader issue, on a more multi-type of industry type of or organization or type of general type of regulatory regime. But let's start. We need to go one block at a time. Let's start with our industry. We're getting criticized, rightfully or not rightfully. This is an industry that people can maybe relate to more than other industries, because the right to privacy is something that resonates with everyone who has a phone.
And it's also the new thing. You're the new kid in town, and it's very, forgive me, but sexy. And everyone has a smartphone, and no one wants Ariella to know what is going on in his smartphone. So, but I want to proceed because
Ariella has a special permission.
The investigative project. Yes.
But Ben, I think we should. You've talked about hypocrisy. I think we should talk a bit about the end-to-end encryption. Is there another way nowadays with the end-to-end encryption to deal with pedophiles and to deal with crime and to deal with terror? We know they use all those platforms. So how can law enforcement and intelligence agencies, deal with it in this world? We are familiar with, they are telling us we are going dark. Without tools like us, how would they prevent terror and pedophiles and crime?
By the way, it reminds me this argument and the whole what we are talking and discussion reminds me the discussion around the COVID-19 vaccines, by the way. The same people that want to be free, not to vaccinate themselves, I think are very like the same people that are they want to go with smartphone, but they want it to be very clean. And as you said, the world is dark. It's not clean. It's dirty. And the question is, who will keep us safe? But I have to proceed because we're talking a lot and it's very interesting. But I want to ask at least this question about the investigative project that presents a picture of widespread spying with more or less everyone following and eavesdropping on everyone else, including, for example, Morocco's king, who targeted allegedly president of France, out of all people. The French have already launched an official investigation of these reports. And I think President Macron himself called yesterday our Prime Minister Naftali Bennett. And what NSO can say in response?
So as I mentioned before, we only sell the technology. We do not operate it. We do not know, we are not privy to the information and to the data. The whole list and the whole names in the list are not related to NSO. These are not Pegasus targets. So, you can add as many names as you want. It is not related to us. Absolutely not.
Okay, so let's go on. If this whole issue is so above board and transparent, why is NSO not allowed to sell its products to me within Israel?
To you as Ben Caspit?
I don't think I can afford it, but you know what?
I just want to send you to the bank to take a mortgage, a big one.
Yes, but I understand you sell only to states. So actually, the answer is in the question, because if you sell only to states, you cannot sell to any private citizen organization.
This is a pillar that I think is crucial, and I think that this is something that from the first day the company was formed 10 years before Ariella and I were here. This was something when the company started its business, it understood the potential of the tools and decided that it's only selling this to government agencies and governments, and not to all governments. And it's amazing to see. I mean, even I've seen it from the short time that I've been here, a relatively short time. There's so many private entities that you'll be willing to go and pay enormous amounts of money to go and have such tools. And again, we're not talking about a specific person, of course, but type of organizations or different type of types of organizations that deal with intelligence, not governmental agencies. And we are very adamant and very strict about this. And I think it's also part of our regulatory regime and restrictions, which it should be, that these tools are tools that should only be used by responsible governments for responsible uses. And I think that's a very important, again, as a citizen and as someone who also is respectful of my own privacy and my family's privacy. I would feel very, very uncomfortable of having these tools.
Any billionaire can acquire himself and know everything that all his employees think and do. And my last question in this issue, I want to talk a little later about cyber in general, but my last question in this issue is it true that your capabilities and the tools you develop are essentially a type of bonus that Israel offers various rulers in the Middle East and elsewhere in order to improve ties or establish formal relationships with them, or maybe the Abraham Accords were involved with, our Israeli leaders or the Mossad head sitting in Dubai or in Abu Dhabi or Bahrain and tells them, listen, if you sign or we have relationship with us, we will get permission to NSO and other companies to sell you all the goods that all the superpowers can afford.
Wow, Ben, you're really
a lot of imagination.
Wow, it's amazing. We can like, it's like, sounds like, we're sitting here and like scheming how to go and, the high politics. It's way beyond us. We're a private company. We're a for-profit company. We do what we think is right. On our, from a human right perspective and on our shareholder perspective. We're not a branch of the government. We're regulated by the government, but diplomacy and country relations and quid pro quid between countries is way beyond Ariella and my pay grade or companies kind of activities.
Okay, let's go to the cyber industry because it is really the hottest spot on earth right now, and Israel has just held its annual Cyber Week, led by former General Professor Yitzhak Ben Israel. Do you see Israel maintaining its position as one of the world's top 5 cyber powers?
So, of course, Israel is a startup nation and is the leading force of unique technologies and a real superpower.
And how do you see the future? Are we already in the cyber era or only in the hallway leading to its doors? It's no secret that Israel and Iran have been conducting almost public cyber warfare for quite a while. The question is, when will cyber wars replace conventional wars? Do you see it happening, or it will always be just, another tool, not the exclusive war?
Again, Ben, wow, you're these are excellent questions, but just reminding you, Ariella and I are working for NSO. We're not a cyber warfare company. We're an intelligence company. We are a software company that provides intelligence tools. And dealing with issues of when warfare will become more cyber or rather than conventional is really something that I would leave to experts in the field. I think we're trying to be experts in our own field and having a hard enough time with as it is with this. So.
I was trying to grab a headline from you because the NSO, don't be shy. NSO is an offensive cyber company and one of the best.
Is an intelligent cyber company which provides cyber intelligence products. And
you can win a war with good intelligence. So it's
yes, but again, what I think that the matter of definition, offensive cyber or cyber warfare, deals with people that or governments that attack infrastructure. And basically, we provide tools that are just, there's as much as there are, human tools, and we provide SIGINT tools.
So you're saying that you're not in the business of attacking Bandar Abbas port or the train system in Iran, but you're in the business of bringing intelligence. This is the NSO business. So let's talk about your business, and we are not talking just about wars. There's also a significant business element involved. To what extent are cyber attacks, ransom demands, and remote malware takeovers becoming a dominant in commerce, science, and the global economy? Do you see continued accelerated development and exponential growth in this field? Because this is really your business. Would it be correct to say that not only wars, but piracy too has undergone cyberization?
I think that the cyber threat, it exists in many, many areas and in many types of, it could be piracy and it could be other bad players. And I think that our tools are provided to governments to use as intelligence to go and prevent any type of terror or crime, whether it be cyber or whether conventional. And I do agree that the more that there are the bad cyber players out there, our tools need to be such that enable the governments to go and encounter the more sophisticated players and receive intelligence to avoid their bad actions that affect us all.
Okay, I think it was very
When,
interesting.
the
Yes,
NSO,
Ariella?
just the last sentence that, NSO is not only Pegasus. We have a lot more products. We have analytics tools. We have a new solution for counter-drone cyber solution. So NSO is not only about Pegasus, and perhaps next time we can talk about NSO as a whole and not only about Pegasus.
Yes, and how many employees do you have in Israel?
Actually, the company is now approximately 800 employees. Most of them are in Israel.
And Ariella is an expert of public relations and spokesmanship, and I know you very well from the IDF spokesman. Do you think, do you think the Pegasus crisis is already behind you, or there is a lot to come? Is there any investigation in Israel? Were you connected by the authorities, or you heard something from Ministry of Defense, or what?
So I don't know if it's behind us or in front of us. As you said, we've done a long way in the, you as a reporter and I in the spokesmanship. So we've learned that we should expect for surprises and to be prepared for surprises. So in that essence, I don't know what's going to come. As I see it right now, this whole campaign is based on false and lies, and I don't know how it can develop. But I do believe that the truth will come out.
Will prevail. You are originally from Israeli Navy. If you've been from the Israeli Air Force, I'm sure you know that what the Israeli pilots are saying is that the guy that will shoot you down is the guy that you don't see. But yes, let's hope that the truth will prevail. And it was a very interesting conversation with both of you. Brigadier General Reserve Ariella Ben Avraham, and now NSO spokesman, I can say, or public affairs officer, and Shmuel Sunray, the legal advisor of NSO. Thank you very much indeed. And thank you for being with us. Shalom and goodbye.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
I'm Andrew Parasoliti, president of the award-winning media news site El Monitor, where we cover the Middle East with some of the best reporters and columnists anywhere. And I'm excited to announce our new podcast, On the Middle East, where each week I will interview newsmakers from the U.S. and the region about the latest news and trends with additional commentary from our on-the-ground correspondents. Those of you who follow the region know that what happens in the Middle East doesn't stay in the Middle East. And to cite another great movie line, every time the U.S. tries to get out, the region pulls us back. Your time is valuable, so let me promise you this. You will learn something and you will never be bored, because each week we'll be talking with and listening to those leaders who are making the news and shaping the trends in this critical and fascinating region. So please subscribe to On the Middle East with me, Andrew Parasoliti.
Thank you for staying with us. As expected, the NSO Group is denying any connection to any list of targeted cell phone numbers of foreign leaders like President Macron, journalists or activists. Our guest today, Brigadier General Reserve Ariella Ben Avraham, public relations director with NSO, and the legal advisor Shmuel Sunray, claims that the company cannot control the exact use its customers are practicing with its products by general, and especially the Pegasus spyware. But the interesting part was when Mr. Sunray said that this relatively new field of espionage by cyber must be regulated. And he said that they will support establishing an international regulatory institute or body or directorate that will set this delicate issue and settle it down and set maybe rules, exact rules that will enable a company like NSO and even governments like the Israeli government to a tight control on these dangerous tools of the 21st century. They also said that at least in 5 cases, the NSO company just stopped deals or canceled deals with customers that were suspected misusing the tools that they produce. I hope you found it interesting today, and we will meet here next week, same place, on Israel, in Al Monitor. I'm Ben Avraham from Tel Aviv. Take care.